The law of free will. Every soul is free to choose. At the heart of existence lies a sacred gift, the freedom to choose. No force, however subtle or powerful, can override the will of an awakened soul. The universe is a field of infinite possibilities, and each being navigates it according to their choices, conscious or unconscious. The law of free will states that every soul is the co-creator of its reality. Whatever it chooses to think, feel, and do becomes the experience it lives. Freedom is the divine spark that allows consciousness to learn, create, and evolve by its own design. 1. Choice as the creative principle. Choice is the first act of creation. Every thought, decision, and gesture is a seed planted in the fabric of the universe. To choose is to move energy, to give direction to the creative force that lives within us. Even choosing not to choose is still a choice. Inaction is also a path. The soul grows as it becomes aware of its choices and the consequences they bring. Freedom is not the absence of direction, but the power to determine the course of one's own evolution. 2. Responsibility as the reflection of freedom. To be free is also to be responsible. The universe neither punishes nor rewards, it reflects. Every action returns to its origin, just as an echo answers the voice that calls it. Thus, the life one lives is the mirror of the choices one has made, in love or in fear. Recognizing this means abandoning the role of the victim and embracing that of the creator. There is no fixed destiny, only potential paths shaped by the vibration of our decisions. 3. The purpose of spiritual freedom. Free will is not a test, it is an instrument of evolution. Through choice, the soul experiences the results of its own creations and learns from them. Every mistake is a lesson, every success a confirmation of inner harmony. Spirit does not seek to control, but to witness consciousness learn self-mastery. True freedom is not doing whatever one desires, but choosing wisely what aligns with the higher purpose of being. 4. The limits of choice and the web of interconnection. Though each soul is free, none exists in isolation. The universe is a living web where every choice resonates beyond the individual. Personal freedom finds its fullness when it is lived in harmony with the whole. To choose consciously is to choose without harm, for to wound another is to wound the universal field of which one is a part. Thus, mature free will is compassionate. It understands that true freedom arises from unity, not separation. 5. Living as a conscious creator. To live this law is to remember that nothing is entirely predetermined. Every thought shapes the future, every emotion summons a reality. The awakened soul observes, decides, and creates intentionally, knowing that the power to choose is also the power to transform. Free will is the bridge between the human and the divine, the flame of consciousness, choosing at every moment who it wishes to become. When that freedom is guided by love, life becomes a masterpiece, a perfect reflection of the soul in evolution. Everything the soul experiences is the result of what it chooses to vibrate. The universe does not impose paths, it simply responds. One who understands this law ceases to seek control and begins to choose with clarity. For destiny is not written by external forces, but by the choices of the spirit, learning in freedom to create its own light.
The law of responsibility. Everything we live is a reflection of what we create. No experience in life is accidental. Every event, encounter, or challenge reflects something our own consciousness has generated. Reality responds to the vibration we project through thought, emotion, or action. The law of responsibility reveals that there are no victims in the universe, only consciousnesses in the process of learning. Everything we experience is a direct or indirect consequence of what we create, consciously or unconsciously. Accepting this truth is the first step toward true inner freedom.
Life as a mirror of consciousness. The outer world is a mirror of the inner world. Every person, situation, or obstacle that appears before us reflects something we need to understand, heal, or transform. Nothing is random. The universe is precise, mathematical, and compassionate. What we attract is always aligned with our current state of vibration. The reactive mind sees guilt and injustice. The awakened consciousness sees reflection and opportunity. When we understand that reality only returns what we project, we stop fighting against it and begin to learn from it. The end of the victim and the birth of the creator. The idea of being a victim dissolves when this law is understood. Nothing happens to us without our energetic participation in some form. Even difficult experiences carry the potential for revelation and growth. As long as we blame others or fate, we give away our power. But when we recognize that everything is a mirror of ourselves, we reclaim authorship over our lives. To be responsible is not to feel guilty, it is to be empowered. Guilt paralyzes, responsibility liberates. Cause and effect, the hidden rhythm of the universe. Energy follows precise laws. Every cause creates an effect, and every effect points back to a cause. Nothing is punished, nothing is rewarded. Everything is balanced. When we emit love, the universe responds with love. When we sow fear, we harvest experiences that reveal it for healing. This law operates on both subtle and visible levels. Thoughts, words, and actions are creative forces, and each leaves an imprint on the vibrational fabric of the cosmos. What returns will always be compatible with what was sent out. Learning through experience. Every experience is a lesson the soul has chosen. Suffering, when seen with awareness, transforms into wisdom. Nothing we live is a mistake. It is part of the evolutionary journey that leads us back to balance. Life repeats lessons until they are understood. Once the lesson is learned, repetition ends, and energy ascends to a higher frequency. To take responsibility is to embrace the dual role of student and creator. We are both the authors and the learners of our own cosmic story. Living with conscious responsibility. To live by this law is to abandon the habit of blaming or justifying. It is to see every situation as an invitation to clarity. To ask not, why did this happen to me, but what is this showing me about myself? When this question becomes natural, life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a field of revelation. Responsibility awakens inner power and dissolves the illusion of separation. We come to understand that everything we give, we receive. Everything we emit, returns. And everything we experience is part of a loving dialogue between the soul and the universe. Everything that exists is a reflection of the consciousness that generates it. Nothing is imposed upon us. Everything is shown to us. The wise do not blame the mirror for their image. They use it to know themselves. To assume responsibility is to become a creator, and one who creates consciously discovers that the entire universe has always been and will always be the loving response of their own being.
The law of karma, cause and effect. Every action, word, and thought returns in equal measure. Nothing in the universe happens by chance. Every action, word, and thought is a seed planted in the invisible field of existence, and every seed inevitably blooms at the right moment. The law of karma, also known as the law of cause and effect, teaches that every emission, positive or negative, generates a proportional consequence in return. Karma is neither punishment nor reward. It is balance. It is the perfect mechanism through which the universe maintains harmony and guides each soul toward awareness.
The universe as a field of reflection. The cosmos functions as a sensitive mirror. Everything we project, through vibration, intention, or gesture, reflects back to us in time. Life returns what we give, not as judgment, but as resonance. If we emit love, we receive love. If we emit disharmony, we attract experiences that reveal what needs healing. Nothing is forgotten or lost. Every bit of energy we send continues to move until it finds its source again, completing the cycle and restoring equilibrium. 2. The invisible cause and the visible effect. What we see unfolding in our lives is merely the visible result of invisible causes. Thought is the beginning of every act. Karma is born there before it becomes word or deed. Every emotion we nurture, every intention we hold in the heart, is a living force shaping the future. Thus, we are not victims of chance, but active participants in a web of intertwined causes and effects. The outer reality is the harvest of the seeds we planted in our inner field. 3. Karma as the education of the soul. Karma is not punishment, it is a compassionate teacher. It does not come to wound, but to awaken. Every experience, pleasant or painful, is a returning lesson. It shows us what we need to understand in order to align our actions with universal harmony. When the soul learns, the karmic cycle dissolves naturally. Energy transmutes and wisdom takes the place of imbalance. Karma is not eternal. It lasts only as long as consciousness requires to awaken. 4. Freedom within the law. Though karma as a principle cannot be avoided, its expression can be transformed because awareness changes the flow of causes. At every moment, we hold the power to choose, to act with love, compassion, and clarity, or to repeat old patterns rooted in fear, pride, and ignorance. Every choice creates a new vibrational timeline. By choosing differently, we create differently. Thus, free will and karma are not opposites. One is the brush, the other is the canvas upon which we paint our evolution. 5. Living in harmony with karma. To live in harmony with this law is to understand that everything we do returns, not to punish, but to teach us to create consciously. It is to observe each thought before it becomes a word, each word before it becomes an act, and each act before it begins a new cycle. When we accept responsibility for what we emit, we become alchemists of destiny. We transform pain into wisdom, reaction into compassion, and harvest serenity where once there was conflict. Karma is not the weight of guilt, but the path of clarity, the constant reminder that we are creators of our own experience. Everything that exists is energy in motion returning to its source. Nothing escapes the law, yet everything can be transformed through consciousness. What we give, we receive. What we heal within ourselves, we heal in the world. To understand karma is to understand the love that governs the balance of all things.